Mr. Irani, when you were running Tisco for many years, the profit in 1991, when I did some research for this show, was astounding. The profit of Tisco in 1991 was about 150 crores. Right? Today, on a good year, can earn over $1 billion. Indian industry has stood up to the challenge, right? So there is a revolution going on in Indian industry. And do you believe that Indian industry can now fare its own in the world? And so that is not a limiting factor for us?
If you had done a little more research and gone further back into Tisco, you'd have seen that in the 1980s, in some years the profit was less than 50 crores. And that was because of the domestic environment, the control and, the control from the center. We were totally a centralized economy. So I don't think we should go by any particular profit per person. I think as far as our potential is concerned, I would certainly agree with what you said as far as investment and creation of wealth is concerned, is to look at the management, to look at the depth of management. I think profits of companies can vary according to the demand and supply position. But something which is far more intrinsic is the quality of management. I'm very happy to say that I'm one of those few which bought Tata Motors shares when they were at 150 rupees. And because I was sure that they would not remain there for too long. And what was the reason for it? Was the quality of the management and the type of product that they were putting. So I think India has tremendous, we are not short in our brain power, or shall we say the depth of our thinking, innovation. Maybe that is one of the reasons why we are facing corruption things also, because corruption also requires a lot of innovation. Right? So there is nothing wrong with our brain power. What is wrong with us is our mindset. Our mindsets are in a way fossilized because of 200-300 years of colonial rule. The master-servant relationship, everything that is abroad. The chocolates are better abroad. We can't make those in India. Pepsi and Coca-Cola are better because they're drinks made abroad. We can't make them here. So our mindsets are wrong, but unfortunately, mindsets are not permanent disadvantages. They can be changed. Minds are obviously permanent. It depends on the DNA, and that we are well served. So I see a tremendous future for India. Our minds will develop, and hopefully our mindsets will change.
Right. Let me first just ask, the basic question that we need to ask in stock market. I'll start with Ramdev, and all three of you can address this question. How convinced are you that over the next 10 years, that India's GDP will grow at 8%? Because that really would answer a lot of questions. Ramdev, you start.
Yeah. I think, despite everything, 8%, 7.5%, 8% be possible. Potential could be 11, 12, 13%. But thanks to the quality of management, like in stocks, the companies, they will scale up to the potential. Like Infosys went to the potential, or TCS went to the potential because of the underlying management. But I think the biggest issue here is the governance. This country is so large, so it needs actually very high depth of management. We don't have even a proper mandated political system out there. And every time, like if by chance we go in election in next year, again we don't know whether we get, for the biggest party, whether we get 207 or 180. Nobody is clear. I think the real mess is in the management level of government, of the country called India. And it's been a problem for last 20 years. All kinds of, governments with all kinds of, after Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi, we have been getting all colors of coalition. And so despite that, this country has been moving. And I think one of the reasons it has been moving is just the aspirations of the people. They are living so much below poverty and so much of difficulties are there. They are willing to cross anything to achieve development and progress. And that collective, wisdom or aspiration is what is driving it. So going from $1,000 to $2,000 or $3,000 is just about the journey we are talking about in next 10 years. But to take it deeper beyond say 17, 18 and all, even going beyond 5 years is going to be challenging if the quality of management is not good. So I always think that if political economy is not doing well, or there is no political stability, or they cannot take decisions, the Prime Minister cannot take decisions on crucial issues, I don't know how these things are going to work.
Mr. Narendran, someone famously once said that India doesn't grow because of its politicians, it grows despite its politicians. So would you be an advocate, I mean, you watch it from an excellent perch, that for the next 10 years, on an average, you grow 8%. And that includes the globe as we know today.
You know, any kind of forecasting is full of uncertainties, and at any point of time you can have a variety of outcomes. So you have to look more at probabilities rather than certainties when you're looking forward. And the probability is that India will grow, not at 8, but faster than 8%. Certainly, I think 9% on a sustained basis is now feasible. You have the rate of savings and investment to back it. You have the dynamism within the domestic sector to back it. So I wouldn't see why it's not possible. I'm not guaranteeing that it will happen. But to come back to a point about the regional inequality that Dr. Irani made, it's interesting that in the last 4 or 5 years, the fastest growing states are Bihar, Orissa, Chhattisgarh.
So the gap is closing?
And if you look around and ask yourself, which are the states which have the worst governments, it is the best states of the past. It's Maharashtra, which hasn't had a chief minister complete term for as long as one can remember. It is Punjab, which has the highest per capita in the country, but the state is bankrupt. And it's Karnataka, where, Yediyurappa is just as bad as Dharam Singh was, and you don't know which one to choose and who's worse. Devagowda and his son. So it is not necessarily the case that the best performing states are continuing to do well. Gujarat is continuing to do well, for instance. But the poor states are also coming forward, and that's a great thing. That if you can show 11% GDP growth annually in states like Bihar and Chhattisgarh, then you're really addressing the inequality problem in a very significant way.
We understand this in the marketplace, that yesterday's winners are not necessarily tomorrow's winners also. So we know that you mean. So what is your feeling? You think that the country is set, I mean, there will be political turmoil, there will be corruption cases, there will be global turmoil. Can we still grow at 8%? Is the country set on autopilot?
Yes, I think the most encouraging thing which has happened in the country in the last 2-3 months, and that unfortunately has been overshadowed by later events which are more sensational, the most encouraging thing that has happened is the emergence of the Nitish Kumar government as a popular government in Bihar. I grew up my career in Bihar, so to speak, and it was really looked upon as the pits, and when Jharkhand was formed away from Bihar, we thought that there was going to be a resurgence in Jharkhand. In fact, the reverse has happened. Bihar has progressed, Jharkhand has gone further back. So the election results in Bihar are really very, very encouraging. And they are a pointer that the electorate of India do want development.
Precisely.
And that exactly is that is the hope for the future. And as far as our future is concerned, what would be the rate of growth? I agree with Mr. Narendran. I think 10% growth is within our reach. And if we had a good government, with no government we are having 8%, right? So with good government, we can really have 10% growth, which is well within our capacity. And see what 10% would do with inflation now being at just over 7%, I think the latest figure. So we have got some real growth coming in.
Great.